This is a Geek Leader podcast, and I'm your host, John Rauda. This show is all about helping us grow as leaders, become better technologists, and improve our lives both at work and at home. I hope you enjoy the show and learn a lot. Happy holidays, and welcome to episode 242 of the Geek Leader podcast. I'm your host, John Rauda. Today's sponsor is A2 Hosting. I've been using A2 Hosting solid state hosting solutions for our website at geekleader.com for many years now, and absolutely love their support, their service, and all the features that you get. You get access to cPanel. You get all of the things that you can imagine for a great WordPress experience, including their A2 optimized WordPress, which does extra security checks, extra lockdown. You can lock down your editor file so you can't edit anything inside there. You get alerts whenever there are file changes that are done. You can also do automatic updates, backups, and more with A2 Hosting. So highly recommend it. Go to geekleader.com/A2 to get more information and to sign up for their solid state turbocharged speed hosting today. Again, that's at geekleader.com/A2. All right, Geek Leaders. Today on the show, I have Mary Smith, and she is the co-author of a book, Individual Advantages, Be the IN Team, and she's also an associate advisor at the IA Business Advisors. And we're going to be talking about leadership, ethical leadership, influence, empathy, all kinds of cool stuff today. And with all that being said, Mary, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
If you don't mind, just tell the audience kind of how you got to where you are today and what is it that you guys are doing?
Certainly. So my journey has been an awesome one. I have my bachelor's in English literature and I minored in psychology, although I didn't know I wanted to go into business at the time when I was in college, or, I probably would have gotten a minor in business administration. Mm-hmm. However, I joined my dad at his company while I was still in college. I started doing editing work and ghostwriting articles for blogs for our clients using my English literature degree. And as time went on, I just started getting pulled further and further in, and he proposed that we start working on the IN Team series, which is our series which helps aspiring and current leaders be their best selves. And that was something I was super interested in because I love helping people and I love helping them develop their unique qualities and making sure they don't feel like they need to fit into a cookie cutter box. So I really was starting to use my psychology minor when we started that together. The further we got into it, we wrote our first book, Individual Advantages, Find the IN Team. We released that in October of 2018. The first book really focuses on how individual people can be their best self. So discovering their foundation and finding out who they are on the inside and who they want to be, because we believe that the foundation of all leadership and management is first understanding yourself and your own way of communicating, your own way of being, your own way of treating others and treating yourself. So that's really what we focused on with the first book. And after we released that, I realized this is really what I want to do. I really want to help people be better leaders and managers so that they can flourish and help their teams flourish. So I started my master's in organizational leadership. I'm currently I want to say about halfway through the program, maybe not quite halfway, but I can aspire and tell myself that I am halfway. And we released the second book, Individual Advantages, Be the IN Team, this March. And that one really focuses on how leaders can take their understanding of themselves as foundational understanding, who I am and who I want to be, and how do I apply that to be the influence? How do I apply that to be my best self? And we're not asking people to fit into the cookie cutter mold. We want everyone to be themselves. Everyone has strengths and everyone has areas for improvement or growth. And when we understand that about ourselves, we understand that we can be the best leader we can be because we can use those around us to supplement our areas for growth. And we can use our strengths to supplement their areas for growth. So really, I have the belief that leadership is a relationship where we're all together and you really need your followers to help you and you need to help them just as much.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What's it like working with your dad? Because I know some dads are cool to work with and some dads are, might not be as cool. So what's it like?
It is always an up and down journey, but I would say that about working with anybody, nobody's perfect. I certainly am not perfect and he's not perfect, but it's been a really great relationship because he is such a good coach and mentor. He's teaching me so much about good leadership and how to help people be their best self. So I really enjoy watching him and learning from him and kind of following in his footsteps a little bit. I think that we do have different approaches to some things. You know, he's a little bit more direct, a little more hard, I guess, but in a compassionate way. And I'm a little softer. I come at it from a different angle. But we both reach the same conclusion. We both believe that diversity is beautiful, that people are beautiful, and that we can tap into this untamed market and help people realize that they are the best capital, and they can sell themselves. So we reach the same conclusions, we just get there a little differently. And that's really nice because, you know, something I do need to learn is how to be more direct. So we, again, help each other in our areas of growth and strengths.
Awesome. And yeah, I know. So in going through your book, and at the end there was a section on COVID and kind of the influences and stuff out there. And your dad did talk about how you and him have differences of opinions sometimes, but you are able to work together and come together. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, thank you. It's been really beautiful because I see so many people and so many families and friends kind of getting torn apart right now because of how polarizing our climate is here in America. And they're lacking the ability to even have like empathetic and compassionate conversations with each other, and just understanding that we all are entitled to our own opinions, and that sometimes when those opinions don't align, it's okay, but you can still treat people with empathy and still realize that like they have value and they have family and loved ones and people who care about them. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, let's talk a little bit about empathy, because that's one of the things that I struggle with sometimes. Is I get too caught up in I don't know, the life, work, being busy, and I forget to take a moment and put myself in other people's shoes and try to see things from other people's perspective. What advice would you have for someone that may struggle with empathy?
So I think my first piece of advice is to be compassionate for yourself. Struggling with empathy is something that we all do, even those who are super empathetic. You know, I would classify myself as an empath, as someone who intuitively knows and understands what other people are feeling. And there are times when I struggle with empathy too. And it's part of the human condition is to want to protect the self, want to be selfish, want to make sure that we're getting what we need and what we want. So first is to be compassionate and to understand that when you have lapses of empathy, it's okay as long as you go back and review those times and look at where you can learn from it, where you can grow. As long as you keep trying and keep trying to be a better person and increase your positive influence, then like that's all you need to keep doing. The second best piece of empathy, or best piece I have for achieving empathy, is to always keep in mind that everyone is going through some kind of battle. Everyone is going through some kind of struggle, whether it is an external struggle or an internal struggle. That is one that always helps me with my empathy, is knowing that everyone just wants to feel valued. Everyone just wants to feel like they belong. Everyone just wants to know that they're cared about and loved and accepted for who they are and for their contribution. And when we have this understanding, it can make having empathy a little bit easier because we realize that we're all the same on some foundational level, and we can get on that level with those people. And even if we don't know, I don't know what you're feeling, I haven't been through your exact situation, I haven't dealt with these people before, this situation, you can still have that understanding and that empathy for, I don't want you to suffer, and I understand what it feels like to suffer, and I will be here with you. So having empathy is being there with the person and trying to get on their level instead of creating a boundary between yourselves to create comfort for the person who is showing empathy.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's one of those things that I struggle with sometimes is just taking that time to get down on their level, and I relate it to my kids. So I have 3 kids, and when you're talking down at your children, from a higher level physically, the kid is intimidated a little bit. But if you bend down and get on your knees and talk to them face to face at eye level, they're more receptive. And I think the same thing goes not just physically, but also like the words that you're saying, whether you're speaking down to someone, or if you get down to their level and talk as equals. And I think that's where we need to work on getting to that point.
Oh, absolutely. Talking with people as your equal is super important, especially when demonstrating empathy. And you bring in a great example, because getting down like to their eye level, getting down with them, getting down to the energy that they're at, whether you're a little kid or you're an elder worker or a millennial, whoever you are, just trying to reach them at their level, trying to understand where they're coming from is super important in demonstrating empathy.
So when it comes to like one of the things that I've done, that I've learned to, speaking and getting on the same level, I found that whenever I have one-on-ones like in my office, they're less productive than if I have like a walking one-on-one where we're outside and walking around. And I think part of that is like you said, is getting on that same level. It's kind of weird when one person's kind of sitting behind the desk and the other person's sitting off to the side. It's just an awkward situation. Whereas when you take a walk, you're kind of on the same level.
Oh, absolutely. I love that idea, by the way. I'm going to have to steal it because I currently hold one-on-ones in my office, but taking them outside is such a good idea just to get out of the office, just to get into a new environment. Our brains take in so much information that we aren't even aware of, and that includes our environment. So you're right, having that subconscious feeling of I'm in my boss's office and they are across the table from me and this is their space, getting them out of that and getting into a space of neutrality. I love that idea, and I'm definitely stealing it.
Yeah, steal away. I think it's one of those things that's really helped me out. It's just getting outside into nature is a good part, but also just not being in my office, because I think people are less comfortable in their boss's office. A lot more comfortable when you're just walking around outside. Another thing you talk a lot about in your book is influence, and just it's even right there on the cover, individual influence. Tell me a little bit about why influence is so important and kind of what that means to you.
I love this question. Thank you. Influence is not important. It is vital to human survival. And it is a term that is thrown around today just to mean people of status. But people of status aren't the only ones who have influence. They appear to be the only ones who have influence because they have however many followers, however many likes, however many people engaging with them. And yes, that is a form of influence, but every day, every single person on this planet influences other people, and they influence themselves. So if your number's not going up on your social media pages, that's okay. Like the way you behave, the way you treat others, that makes a difference in the world. And you might think that it's small, but that doesn't matter, because if we all come together and we learn how to be our best selves, how to treat people compassionately, how to behave and communicate and ensure respect, then if we keep doing that in our communities, then we cultivate a new culture. And we do that through our influence, because culture is people and people are influence. So I like to say that I matter because my influence matters. Influence, I matter.
Yeah.
And I believe all people matter. And you matter not only to how you treat others, but how you treat yourself, your thoughts, how you talk to yourself. That shapes your worldview, that shapes your influence. So be super mindful when you're trying to control your influence, not just how others perceive you, but how you perceive yourself and how you talk to yourself and how you talk about others to yourself. Your thoughts shape your world and they will shape your influence. And if you keep those positive, if you keep those, or at least positive when you can, life isn't life isn't all positive, but doing your best, then you can create a better influence and you can influence others. It's like if you were to turn on a light bulb and that light bulb were to spark other little light bulbs. And it just creates a ripple effect. Like it's the pay it forward kind of thing, like if you buy someone a coffee at Starbucks, then they might buy someone their next coffee at Starbucks, and they might not buy someone their next coffee. But the same is true. Studies have shown that the pay it forward idea of kindness is true, but doubly so for negativity. So when we put negativity out into the world, when we use our influence to negatively influence the people who are affected by that, they create double the amount of negativity. So That's just one research study showed, but it's definitely something to keep in mind that like you definitely matter. You always matter. People are always watching. And if people aren't watching, you're watching. Like you are shaping your life and your world.
Yeah, I think that's good. And you have a quote in your book that I really like. That was, I think it's by Scott Adams. Is you don't have to be a person of influence to be influential. In fact, the most influential people in my life are probably not even aware of the things that they taught me. And I think that's exactly what you're getting at there. And I like what you said about negativity, because I see that in my own life. It's like when, something happens at work and I get, angry or upset about something, and my kids will do something that's not nearly as bad as it could be. And I'll like jump down the throat, because I'm angry about something else. So I pass along that negativity at a harsher rate than I probably should.
I definitely feel that. It's definitely something we're all working on. Like I'm not going to pretend like that's not something that I still do, because I certainly do, but it's something that I try to be really mindful of, because taking on negative energy, having those bad things happen at work, having conflicts between coworkers, or having conflicts between you and your spouse, or even conflicts between your children, like having to deal with the negativity creates negativity in ourselves. And it's our instinct to shove that negativity off into some other space, because energy is not just destroyed unless we choose to destroy it and rise above. So we have to take that negative energy and those negative feelings and do something with them, either put them out into a creative space, writing, meditation, yoga, art. A lot of people have different forms for however they choose, but getting rid of the negativity we harbor inside is super important, rather than using it to put negativity into others.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what is a way that we can kind of flip that? How can we take that negativity and flip that around to positivity? Like what is it? What is a way that I can, let's say something that happens at work and I'm frustrated, and I could suppress it. They say it's not good for you. What's a way that
Definitely
I
not
can
good
flip
for you.
it?
That's a great question. There are a few different ways you can flip it. So first I want to talk, don't use toxic positivity. Do not use it. Toxic positivity is when you ignore the negative happenings of life, like, oh, just look on the bright side.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. It's like sometimes you do have to deal with negative emotions. Sometimes you do have to deal with negative events. Not everything is sunshine, not everything is positive, but we can try to be our most positive selves. So one way is that you should avoid toxic positivity, because the only thing toxic positivity is going to do to you is it's going to make you repress those negative emotions, and they will come back. Another way is to have a growth mindset. So having a growth mindset is understanding that good and bad things happen, but we can still learn. It's the understanding that I have the ability to learn. I have the ability to grow, to adapt, to change. I look at failure as an opportunity to continue growing and adapting and changing. And if we can look at these negative occurrences that happen in our lives, and we can just take a deep breath and pause and slow down just even for a moment, and just think that, like it really sucks right now and I'm not having a good time, but I know that I'm going to grow. I know that I'm going to learn from this. I know that my team is going to learn from this. I know that we are going to find more opportunities in this issue once we make it out. It's just the understanding that life is not all peaks. Life is peaks and valleys. And from those valleys, you get higher and higher up into the next peak. So just try to reframe your mindset and to know that I can get through this. I can continue to adapt. And then dealing with those negative emotions inside, because just the understanding that you can grow and learn from this experience sometimes isn't enough, but you need to have a way to channel that negative emotion, because you can both understand that you will grow and still have anger or resentment or worry or anxiety. So finding something that helps you channel that, whether it be through yoga or going bowling or going to the gym or writing down in a journal. A lot of people have different ways of dealing with their negative emotion, but it's important to understand that it's not always going to be that way and that negative occurrences are impermanent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's I think it's really important not to just ignore them and not to flip it around, but also, like you said, to deal with it and find ways that you can kind of ease yourself. Like for me, it could be martial arts or something like that. You mentioned bowling as an example. I think those are all. I like the idea of using a physical activity. Something that gets your body moving, get your to help clear your mind, whether it be sports or taking a walk outside in nature or something like that. I think those are really important things to do.
Yeah. And there's a lot to be said about channeling energy into different energy. So using your body, feeling your body. And it takes a lot of the time. I think that we live so far in our minds, we almost forget about our bodies.
Yeah.
We just get so deep in there, deep in thought, lost in thought. And we look down at the time, we're like, oh, I've been ruminating for 20 minutes. So getting out there, moving your body, reminding yourself, yeah, I have feet, I have legs, or I can move myself. It's a powerful way to distract and to allow your subconscious to kind of work through things while you do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So where did the illustrations come from in your book? Who illustrated that? Because those are neat.
Thank you. Our graphic designer, so IA Business Advisors, we have an in-house graphic designer. His name is Jared. He's super awesome. He's been with us for 15 years this year. He does all of our graphic design work. So
he did the drawings too on your website of everybody and all that stuff?
He did. Yes. He does
Awesome.
all of our caricatures of all of our team members. He did all of the designs in our first and second book as well. But they come from a blend of our team sitting down, reading the chapter when it's either close to finish or almost finished, and we pull out imagery ideas and we kind of throw them at Jared and we say, hey, here's some of our imagery ideas from this chapter. What can you come up with? And then he just has creative freedom.
Awesome. Yeah, I think they were really good. Like as I was going through it, those definitely stood out as something like unique and pretty cool. Because being a podcast host, I literally get 4 or 5 books a week email mailed to me that I have to that I go through. And I'm picking out the best of the best to come on the show. And seeing something like that was kind of a unique thing that I don't see in a lot of business books.
Yeah, I do hear that quite a few times that, your business book's not the same as other business books. And there's a reason for that, because we aren't just trying to reach business people. We're trying to reach all kinds of people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who aren't in business. And we want to show people that we have we're people too, we're authentic. We're just trying to teach. We're just trying to be wholesome. We're just trying to help others. And our audience is really anyone who's trying to lead. And our definition of leader isn't necessarily someone who has the title of a role of leader or manager. People lead every day with their influence. It's the influence you have on others that makes you a leader when they follow you, especially if it's positive influence.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think that's I've talked about that before, that you can lead at any level. It's not necessarily just a boss being a leader. You can lead your kids, you can lead your family, you can lead your parents. Honestly, you can lead at any level, which I think is a really cool thing to talk about. So where did the name or the term be the I in team come from?
So our whole series is called the I in Team series, and actually comes from the phrase, there is no I in team. And that's true. There technically isn't an I in team in terms of the way it's spelled, but there's an I, there's influence in everything. So that's where it came from. We all have influence. We're always influencing. That starts with an I. I categorize myself as an I when I speak about myself. So there is an I in team. It's me, it's my influence, it's you, it's your influence, it's everyone and their influence coming together. And that's kind of where it came from, just to play on words a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think it's a kind of a unique thing. So when I first read it, I was like, there's no I in team. Then I had to think about it. It's like, actually there is an I, because every team is made up of individuals. So you have to go back that way. Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. So what is it that IA Advisors does for individuals and people, and what kind of services do you guys offer?
We offer a super wide range of services, so bear with me. Our number one service is business advisory services. So we use our proprietary method called Biz Vision, which is trademarked by us, and we use it to dive super deep into a company. So we start working with a client and we give them our Biz Vision process. And we learn about their current processes, their people, and their technology. So we believe that people are the foundation of any company, and that their processes are kind of the walls. They hold everyone together, make sure everyone's doing well. And then we look at the technology. Is this technology helping or hindering people? Is it being used properly? Is it too much? Is it too little? So we do all kinds of business advisory services, helping people, with their processes, and with their technology. We also do mergers and acquisitions. We do succession planning. The thing that I'm most involved in right now is leadership coaching and culture consulting. That's always a hard one for me to get out because of the alliteration. We also focus on digital marketing, helping our clients get seen on the web and making sure that their customers and clients understand what's going on with them and stay up to date. We do graphic design work, as we mentioned already, but our core focuses are business advisory, which I know is kind of broad, leadership development, digital marketing, and mergers, acquisitions, and succession planning.
Awesome. And one of the things that kind of stands out when you talk about all those different services that you do, when it comes to culture. And right now we've seen a lot of things since the pandemic that has kind of affected the culture in businesses, whether it be diversity, equity, and inclusion kind of being brought up to the forefront. We're experiencing this great resignation where people are leaving their jobs and looking for new work, or the aspects of and discussions about flexibility in the workplace and being there for your people. Have you guys seen an uptake in some of those services or some of those offerings and things that people are interested in? And how do you see that going in the future?
So I actually am seeing more people be interested in both leadership development and culture consulting. I was actually asked just this last week about it. So it's interesting that you bring it up. A lot of people are noticing people are leaving in mass numbers. It's not a secret. But people are unhappy with their leaders. They're unhappy with their work. They don't understand the value they add. And that is imperative to creating culture. Leaders who empower their team members and inspire them, that make them feel valued, make them feel like they're part of something bigger, is so important. People aren't just looking for ways to waste their time. They're looking for something to spend their time. Time is a commodity, and it's our most valuable commodity. So it doesn't surprise me that people are leaving, when leaders need to really step up and help their employees understand, like, you matter. This is how you matter to our organization. This is how you fit into the role. This is how you help everyone on our team. When people understand that they are helping move the whole team forward and they feel like they're part of it, they feel empowered. They feel like they want to be there. They feel noticed. They feel like their egos are being pet. They just feel happy. So I definitely think that the future of culture is getting a handle on how people treat others, because culture is people. That's all it is. And the leaders, they drive culture at the top. They have to. Everyone's looking to them. How do I act? How do I treat others? How do I behave? They all look to the leader. How do you treat others? How do you act? How do you behave? How you need to show me. How I'm new to this team. How is it done around here? So the future of culture is getting people in leadership and management positions to understand how valuable that position is, how valuable it is to rally a team behind you to reach organizational goals, how valuable it is to have that trust instilled in you by other people. Trust is really the foundation of all relationships, and respect. So when people feel that they're trusted, when they feel that they're respected, when they feel that they're working with a leader, not for a leader, culture is going to change. I can feel it. I've been feeling it for a while. I think that everything you mentioned, with everyone resigning and looking for new work, and even like working from home and these hybrid offices, and trying to understand, how do we lead remote employees? All of this change is leading to the need for understanding that culture will keep your people, culture will make your people leave, and it's the leaders and managers who drive that culture.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. And you know, the culture definitely comes from the top down, and sometimes you're in a place where there's an absent a leader. You know, a leader that's more of a figurehead than actual leader.
Mhm.
Whenever that happens, how does that affect the culture?
It has a huge detriment on the culture. I read an essay that said absent leaders are unethical leaders. If you are absent, if you are not participating in your team, that is unethical. You must be there. They must see you. The outsiders may not know that you're the leader, but your
Mhm.
team knows.
Yeah.
And when your team knows that you're the leader, they're looking to you. They might not always need you, but you need to be present. And absenteeism will decrease morale infinitely. They need a leader. That's why there's leadership and followership. It's a relationship that must be maintained. Even if you have the most compassionate and ethical leader, sometimes you might not know, like, oh, which one is the leader, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But on the inside, they know,
Yes.
and you have to be there.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's really, really good point, and I couldn't agree with you more. Mary, thank you so much for coming on the show. How can people connect with you and pick up a copy of your book and find out more about the things you guys are doing at blah? The words aren't coming out very well. IA Advisory.
No worries. You can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. That is my favorite place to connect with people. So you can find me. My name is Mary Smith. I know that you might have a hard time finding me, but if you look for the Iron Team series, you'll definitely find me. You can also follow the Iron Team series on every social media platform. We have Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, as well as on IA Business Advisors. We have the same: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. So you can find me on there. You can also follow my work. You can follow the IM Team series and IA Business Advisors work. And you know, if you ever want to reach out to me, if you have a question, like, I'm totally there for you. Like, you can just message me on LinkedIn. We can have a chat. Like, I'll help you. I love talking about culture. I love helping people. So yeah, reach out. I'm totally there. Oh, and you can totally pick up a copy of our book on Amazon or any
Yeah.
major retailer, but I think most people shop on Amazon nowadays.
All right. Yeah. I'll link all that up in the show notes at geekleader.com, including your LinkedIn, Twitter, and website and the book as well. So people can find that at geekleader.com and go through. Mary, again, thanks again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And thank you, everyone out there who's listening. I appreciate you.
If you enjoyed that episode, please leave a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. I'd greatly appreciate that. And also, don't forget to check out merch. We have some t-shirts that I've designed that are on at geekleader.com. You can click on the merchandise section there and check that out. And also, don't forget about the books from our guests. So if you like this guest and other guests that have written books, please go ahead and check that out at geekleader.com. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure they would too.